Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Katie at Little House Learning Co. and I'm a homeschool mom to 3. Here I like to talk about homeschooling and homemaking and kind of everything in between. Today it is super gloomy and cloudy out, and I thought it was the perfect day to talk about my latest obsession this summer, which has been sewing. So I have shared on Instagram some of my pieces and garments that I've been making, and I have gotten a ton of questions about how I got started sewing, kind of how I source my fabric and what patterns I'm using and all that sort of thing. So I thought I would just share and show you kind of everything that I've been doing, and I will be sure to link everything in the description. When I was in 4th and 5th grade, I had the same teacher at school, and she led a 4-H club and invited me to be a part of it, and through 4-H, she actually taught me how to sew. And looking back, I think I probably made 3 or 4 garments with her. I made a wool skirt, and I made what we called a jumper then. I don't know what people call it now, but it's basically like a sleeveless dress that I wore a turtleneck underneath. And then I made like Hawaiian board shorts that won a blue ribbon at our local county fair, and then went on to state where I also won a blue ribbon, so I remember being really proud of that. But then I didn't do a ton of sewing throughout middle school and throughout junior high and high school. I think I maybe sewed a couple pairs of pajama pants, and that's really all that I can remember. In my senior year of college, that Christmas, my parents bought me my own sewing machine, and it's actually still the sewing machine that I use today. And I think I sewed a couple of things, and I don't know, they didn't really turn out that well, and I felt like, okay, I can sew your basic things. Like I made a couple of quilts for my kids that I pieced together some things, and I had somebody else finish the quilting part and the binding, but really like basic sewing. And about 3 years ago, I saw this pattern for the Hinterland dress that was going around Instagram, and to me it looked a ton like the dresses from Pine & Smith. If you don't know Pine & Smith, they make these beautiful linen dresses, but being almost 6 feet tall, they always like hit me at this part of my waist rather than like a little bit lower, and kind of made me look like I was pregnant. So the ones that I had purchased, I ended up reselling and thought, oh, I can make my own using this Hinterland pattern. So I think 2, maybe 3 years ago, I bought the pattern. I went to Joann Fabrics. I bought enough fabric for the project, and then it just sat in my closet. So this summer I decided I for sure want to make those 2 dresses. And I decided I was going to do it when my parents were visiting, because my dad loves to entertain and play with my kids, and my mom has a lot of sewing experience, and I thought it'd be really helpful to be walking through a pattern for the first time in probably like 10 years, or more, to have her there just to help, lend her expertise. And what I found is that it was super fast and kind of easy, where I thought to myself, why have I been putting this off for this long? So I'll show you what I made here. This is the Hinterland dress. So it has like a gathered waist. Again, I like lengthened it so that it hits me like, kind of right above the belly button, rather than it like right under the bust line where, it looks more maternity. It has ties that you can add or take off. It has pockets, really deep pockets, so I love that. And then you can kind of make the length however long you want it. That's another thing with being tall, is that a lot of clothes, if I can't order them in a tall, they are way too short for me, especially when it comes to dresses or skirts. My femur is like where I get all of my height from. That's where I'm the tallest. So it always is way too short. So I have really been wanting to do more sewing, and I just caught the bug with this. Throughout this project, I feel like I really learned a lot. One of the things that was the biggest learning curve was the binding around the neck. And I did it, and I didn't really understand the directions 100%, but I watched a lot of other videos in some of the other patterns that I've made this summer and got the concept, and now it feels like second nature. Overall, I would rate this pattern like an 8 out of 10. 8 being that it is fairly easy and simple to do. I feel like I want to adjust the neckline a little bit. It's a little bit wider than I like. So the next time I make it, I'll make it a little bit like, you know what I'm saying, like in and kind of up higher. I don't like a ton of my neck exposed usually. But overall, it came together quickly. It does have bust darts, which I feel like can be a learning curve, and again, at that neckline binding, but if you are somebody who is brand new wanting to start out, this was a great pattern. So after I made the Hinterland dress, I was searching the internet to try to find some other beginner-friendly patterns. One of the things that I have found most surprising is that when I learned to sew in 1999, you would go to your fabric store, you would open the catalogs, and you would find a pattern you wanted to use. You would search for the pattern and purchase it, bring it home, you know, cut it out. Now it seems like with the closing of Joann's and even places like Hobby Lobby and Michael's having pretty limited selection, most people are buying patterns from, you know, indie pattern creators online. It's such a unique kind of way to sew because now with the internet, when you purchase a pattern from an indie creator, a lot of times they have video examples that go along with it. You can search the hashtag and see how other people have hacked it or made all different kinds of garments from that same pattern. You can like DM or have direct access to the pattern creator if you have a question. You know, it's just such a different world of sewing, and I feel like really helpful. I've really enjoyed it quite a bit. So the second pattern that I purchased is the All Well box top. This is a very beginner friendly pattern, and I want to show you. They actually have a book called How to Sew Clothes, and this was really helpful to me. It has a ton of information in it, and this was like $17, and it comes with patterns in the back. So if you are somebody who is thinking about sewing, this is a great place to start because you have the whole book, and then you also have the patterns. Now the patterns that are they have multiple patterns layered on top of each other, so you have to find a way to trace them. You can't cut them out like old school patterns because then you're cutting into, say, you know, a bag that you want to make with the pattern in the back. So you can use like a tracing paper or however you want to do that. I ended up just purchasing the book and I bought the pattern online, and that worked out well for me. The thing with buying patterns online that you really have to pay attention to is when you print it off, it always has this little test square, and you really have to make sure that this equals an inch, you know, or this equals 4 centimeters, whatever they have. If I can show that to you really close. That was a big mistake that I made. I just printed it off and assumed it was fine and correct, and I ended up making things that were way too big for me because I didn't correctly have it printed. As part of being just honest and wanting to share with you how my experience has gone learning to resew, these are the box tops that I have made. The first one that I made was this long sleeve, kind of like a chambray. This was in my grandma's basement. My grandma was a quilter. When she passed away, I took a bunch of fabric from her. I'd taken a bunch for our wedding and some for hall decorations when I was an RA. I really liked this, and I felt like I will just wear this around the house and it would be good to use up for a project like this and really good practice. So I love how this one turned out. It is very boxy, but I feel like it just worked for me. Now, I thought, oh, this will be easy to translate into other fabrics. So this is another fabric that my grandma had that I took probably for our wedding. Our colors were navy blue, so I just took basically all her fabric that had navy blue in it. Again, this isn't like a fabric that I love, but I really wanted to practice. I wanted to put a ruffle on the bottom, but this one turned out huge. Like you can just see, it is probably at least a solid size, if not too big for me. And I don't really know why the other one turned out like okay with sizing and this one didn't. I mean, the other one still is like a boxy kind of roomy fit, and I don't know, but you can see it's just too much fabric for me. So maybe someday when I get better, I can open this up and put like a little button placket or something in it, but honestly, I don't love this fabric enough to like mess around with it. I will probably put this back in my stash to one day take apart and redo, or to use it for scraps or whatever. But I will say I learned a lot and it was good practice. The other one that I made is this one, again, a fabric from my grandma. It has like yellow and green flowers on it. It looks very pajama-ish to me, and I probably will end up wearing this as pajamas. I love this idea. I've seen this on Pinterest where it's like a tank with a tiny, like a smaller ruffle at the bottom. I'll put like my inspo pic here. This one had needed interfacing, you can see, because it's very see-through and I have not used interfacing in a very long time. And I think I just thought, oh, I'll do the box top and I will cut the sleeves. And that doesn't work because the box top has like really roomy armpits. So what I should have done is probably take a tank top that I wear and measure the armholes and stuff from that, or used another pattern. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was just in the moment and decided to hack it while I was doing it. And it's fine, but it is very roomy and wide in the arms and just not something that I love. But again, I kind of knew that going into it, that I wanted to use up some fabric that wasn't my favorite to practice. I ended up making my own darts and putting it in there just to make sure, like, to see if I can make it fit better. But I learned a lot, and yeah, I'll probably wear it for pajamas or something, I don't know what. But the next thing I made was this Syd Graham pattern Skyline Dress. I had seen a lot of people wear it. It's very easy to put together. You can see, here, I'll try and show you. It has 3 tiers. It's very, like, blousey, I guess, I don't know what the word is. It has pockets. I have worn this with like a t-shirt underneath. I've worn it just by itself. It's very comfortable for hot summer days. I think the next time I make this pattern, I probably won't add so much fabric to the gathers. It's very A-line, and I feel like in a dress form, it feels very like, I don't know, like so much air coming through. So I might just try to do a little less gathering, a little less fabric, and make it more like a less blousey, I don't know what the word is. You know what I'm trying to say. I got this fabric. It's just a quilting cotton at a big warehouse in the Twin Cities called S.R. Harris Fabrics. And I just love the pattern. I feel like it's very fun. I like navy blue. I wear a lot of navy blue. This pattern I would give a, I don't know, probably 8 out of 10 as well. It was very easy, super quick. Probably took me 4 or 5 hours to put it together. And as a beginner sewist, that didn't seem that long, and it gave me a ton of practice with the making my own bias binding. And yeah, I just felt very confident in making it. She makes it super easy with tons of videos on her site, and I love it. I will probably be making more. I've seen a couple of people do like a patchwork dress out of this, or even where you have the top and then instead of doing 2 like gathered panels, you just do 1. So I might try that next. But I love it. This dress is super comfortable. Now, what I made next after that is also from Syd Graham, but it's not like a pattern. She just has a YouTube video where she explains how she made these measurements for this skirt. You can see how the bottom is incredibly similar to the Skyline dress. So it was very easy to make after I made the Skyline dress. It also has pockets. And I customized it to my own measurements. I have gotten a ton of wear out of this so far. This fabric came from my grandma's stash as well. Gingham is all over my Pinterest board right now. I feel like it's everything that I see people wearing. And that skirt, I love the shape of it, and it was really easy to put together. Once you kind of get the math down right, I would say it was like 9 out of 10. Next, I went and I took this quilted vest that I had very quickly made this winter, and I adjusted the bias binding around the neckline. When I had made this, I had bought a very inexpensive pattern, and I just didn't understand, again, like the concept of putting a neck binding around. It is hard to do, and so after I had practiced so much, I felt way more confident, so I went and I unpicked all of this binding and I redid it, and I like how this turned out so much better. I will get a lot more wear out of this. This fabric, you can see up close, is a quilted fabric that I already found half cut up at a thrift store. I think I paid $3 or $4 for it. So I think I will get a lot of wear out of this vest this fall and winter. I'm finding that getting into sewing, one of the hardest things for me is not going out and buying a ton of fabric or even sourcing a bunch of it at the thrift store, because there are a million things that you can make from like thrift store blankets and curtains and sheets and stuff like that. But I did see this beautiful linen tablecloth, and I just thought it would be such a pretty dress. So this is the Champagne Fields dress from Matchy Matchy Sewing Club, and I just love how it turned out. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the sleeves. I feel like, I don't know, there's something, maybe it's just because I don't wear a ton of flutter sleeves, and I might end up coming back to this and making it sleeveless. But the rest of the dress I absolutely love. And I just felt like the embroidery and stuff like that was too pretty to waste. I will definitely be making that again. I would give that pattern like probably like a 7 out of 10 for ease. It definitely was a little bit more complicated than I would think it would need to be. So another thing that I made was this quilt coat. This is something that I also sourced at a thrift store. I bought a giant quilt that was in kind of rough shape. It was still like $12, but you know, for a ton of fabric, that wasn't so bad. What I loved about putting a quilt coat together that was from a quilt is that this whole bottom piece, let's see if you can see it there. I didn't have to finish any of that. That was just what was already on the quilt. So it was really, really easy to finish. It took me hardly any time at all. I did unpick this here because I cut it angled and then I restitched the binding back on, but the rest of this binding was pretty much already there. I made this from the All Well quilt coat pattern that came in that book that I showed you. And it was fairly simple. I do think that just sewing with thicker fabric or where you have like a design that you're working around is a little bit more complicated, but I definitely will try it again. I think I'm going to use the rest of this fabric to maybe make another quilted vest. All right, coming down to the end of it, then I made this Syd Graham Syd Tie Top Dress. It's very similar to the Skyline where it has gathers. This one has a long panel and then a shorter one at the bottom. There's options to make it sleeveless or add these like kind of puffy sleeves, and you can make it into a blouse. You can make it into like a full length blouse where you have like more ties in this. I think it has 4 ties, or you can make it into like a peplum top blouse. But I decided to go ahead and make the full dress, especially living in Minnesota. If I'm going to make a dress, it makes more sense sometimes to have sleeves, because sleeveless dresses, I feel like, you know, don't really work a ton for the winter unless you're going to wear a sweater on top. So anyways, this fabric I found at Goodwill. It was on the bolt. I want to say somebody probably went to Joann's closeout sale and bought a bunch, because there was like at least 7 or 8 bolts of fabric that had probably, I don't know, 6 to 15 yards and then just really thick bolts. But all of the rest of the fabric was really ugly, where I thought, I for sure cannot wear that. I don't want to make that into a dress of any kind. But this one I felt like was kind of cute. And I thought, you know, for a couple of dollars a yard, this will give me good practice. I loved putting this dress together. This was not as easy as the Skyline dress, which again, Sydney has a ton of helpful tips and a whole video that you can sew along with. I would give this like a 6 out of 10 for ease. But I definitely will make this again, especially probably into a blouse. I love this little like tie top detail, and that part was really easy. Enough fabric left over that my girl said, Mom, can you please make us dresses that match it? And I knew I wasn't gonna like use this fabric again. So I found a free pattern online, and if I can think of the name, I'll put it here so you can go and look that up too. It's very cute. It just has like the front panel and little gathered skirt. It does have buttons in the back. So, you know, with each pattern that I am doing, I'm trying to learn more. And this is the first one that had buttons, and it went way easier than I thought it would. I think to make the 2 dresses, it took me maybe like 4 hours. So not too bad for 2 dresses. And you know, I think I paid maybe $14 for the fabric, and to get 3 dresses out of it seems like a pretty good deal. And my girls are absolutely obsessed that they get to match me. I will say that I cut the pattern to be a little bit bigger for each of them to maybe grow into, and I don't know if I should have done that. I think it'll be fine, but it does look a little bit big on them. You can tell that the front bodice here is like a little bit big on each of them, but I gotta think by the time that it is even next spring, it will probably fit them just fine. Last but not least, I asked my son what he wanted me to make him since I've made dresses for my daughters, I said, do you want me to make you like a pair of shorts or, you know, I don't know what else. I gave him an option, like a bag or something. He said, I know what I want. I want you to make a cloak, like a Darth Vader cloak. He said, I can use it to be Darth Vader. I can use it to dress up for this, this, and that. So I said, okay, I'll make you a cloak. And we went back to S.R. Harris and found this jersey knit. I don't know if you can tell up close. Like it's like a jersey type fabric in their remnants bin. So I think I paid $4 for this whole fabric, which is a great deal for fabric. Came home, found a free pattern online. It's very simple. It's literally just a hood and then the rest of the cloak. So obviously you can see I have been in a sewing blitz this summer. It has just been super fun. The biggest difference for me to sit down and sew this year has been, I think, really the ages of my kids. This summer they are 6, 8, and 10, and it feels like a whole new world is opening up for me as a mom, where I don't have to be constantly watching them or helping them get a snack or, you know, use the bathroom or anything like that that I would have had to do in summers past. And it has, yeah, just opened up a whole world of time and flexibility for me to pursue a hobby like this. So if you're looking at this thinking, man, I don't think I could ever do this without, you know, being interrupted a billion times, like some of it is just the ages of your kids. But I have been doing like a lot in the evenings when my kids have been in bed, or even during like our afternoon rest time, and it's been really fun. So it's really been a goal of mine this summer to try and sew a little bit every day, whether that's printing out a pattern and putting it together, or you know, whatever, just getting a little bit done every day, because I really want to hone my skills and grow as a seamstress and someone who wants to make more of their own wardrobe. It's been such a fun hobby, and I hope that this has been like a fun and informational video. If you want to see what my plans are upcoming, like the things that I have in the docket, let me know. I feel like the plans that I have for sewing coming up here with the rest of the summer and hopefully into fall are more things that I'm actually excited about, rather than just, you know, kind of practice fabric and stuff. It's fabric that I've gone out and bought and am really like have a vision for. So if you want to see that video, let me know. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave me a comment, just say hi, and thanks so much for watching.